Okay, good morning. Thank you guys so much for joining us for another installment of Bold Breakthroughs. I am so excited to have our guest today, Heather Prince. Let me just read a quick bio and then we will dive right into things. At 50 years old, her ex said he needed space and it wasn't her, it was him, and he left after 34 years together. Huh. From there, she knew that his words were purely subjective and that she could either choose to play the victim or she could choose to take action. She wholeheartedly believed that she could, and she would prove to herself that she could live the life she wanted. Yet these experiences often make us grow stronger, and to this day, ironically, she is ever grateful. I am so excited to unwrap that story and to dive right in and kind of figure out how that brought you into the path that you are now. So let's just start right there. How did that translate into where you are today?
I think that you have a choice. When something like that happens, it feels like a bomb has gone off and you're left with the debris, and you've got a choice. And it's, a bit cheesy, but it's sink or swim. And you make that choice. You're either victim or you're victor, and we all have a story to share. And you can sit there and be the victim, and this happened to me and that happened to me, and why did it happen to me? Or you can actually look at the bigger picture and think, okay, that's happened, that's what I needed to learn from it. Where do I go from here? And I found my way through the layers, through the stepping stones to where I am now, which is why I've put that into an online course, because now I'm on a mission that if I can do this, there's a load of women out there. Why should they settle to be in their old story when they can be the victor?
Exactly. I think we can look at our stories and either use it as a reason to stay stuck or as a reason to move forward, right? And you
Yeah.
really have the power to make that decision and not stay stuck anymore. So good for you. So what is your online course? What's that all about?
Okay, so I've called it Fearlessly Moving Forwards, because I feel that when something happens and it's kind of a bit of a bomb site, you're not quite sure what's what. And if you've been part of a couple for a long time, and even if you chose to actually leave because you were unfulfilled and it was your choice, or perhaps it was your ex's choice, or perhaps unfortunately it was a bereavement, which might have come after a very long illness, or it might have come very sudden and out of the blue. It doesn't matter, because whoever you are, you go through a grieving process. You go through a grieving process of the 5 stages of being sad, being upset, maybe being angry. And you go through all of that until finally you come to a place of acceptance. And then you need to work on yourself, because you've been part of a couple. Now, that might be for 10 years. It might be for 17 years. It might be 24, 25 years. It doesn't matter. You've been part of that couple for a long time, and it's really weird when all of a sudden you are solo. So if you think of an aeroplane and you've always been part of a team piloting the plane, it's like somebody's just pressed the button, they've hopped out the plane, and you're flying solo. It is scary. So the method that I do is very, very unique, because before all this happened, I'm a healer. And I am expert in clearing the Akashic records, the soul records of all the thoughts and feelings and programs. We're all like computers. And I look at that to see, is there a pattern in relationships, and clear all of that before we even begin to what I call regenerate.
Yes, I love this. I think we all have a similar story. We all have a story of breakup, right? I think anybody over the age of 20 probably has a story of a breakup. But I remember when I was going through my situation and I was choosing just the worst guys ever. And I kept thinking, it's not my fault that they're jerks, but I do play a role in why I keep attracting these guys and why I keep letting them stick around, right? And why I keep putting up with that behavior. So I love that you talk about behavior, right? And looking at that and clearing all of that out so that you can.
Yeah, I mean, we can run programs like a computer on our inner hard drive, which we call the subconscious. And maybe something happened earlier on in our life that this program is playing out. Maybe, and you don't have to believe this, because I've worked with loads of people that I just say, have an open mind. It's past life energy, which is being played out karmically. Or you can even inherit in your DNA stuff from your ancestors. So 6 to 8 generations back, stuff might have happened and it's been ignited in your DNA. So we discover when we look at the root cause of why this pattern's been going out in your life. It could be abuse, that might be verbal or physical. It could be abandonment. It could be there's a pattern in your life where all the mums have had a baby and the father's gone, and the baby's been brought up without a father, and it's like a pattern in the generations, and you think, well, that's a coincidence, is it? So it's that deep stuff that we look at, and then I'm just a facilitator. I work with your higher consciousness. So if you're in the States, like you are, Heather, I've worked for loads of people in the States, in Canada, Australia, Cyprus, all over the place, because I'm just a facilitator. I connect with your higher consciousness by using a crystal dowser. And I work with over 30 charts. And that crystal shows me on the charts what's going on. What was your past life like? What have you come back to learn in your current life? What did your soul choose as your life theme and challenge? What's been playing out in your relationship, and what did you need to learn from it? What do you need to regenerate now before even thinking about swiping left or right on a dating app? Because where you are is where you're going to attract. And if you're desperate and needy, or if you want to be looked after, that's exactly who you're going to meet again.
Exactly. I love that you bring that up, because I think a lot of people, and we all know that woman that has to be, or man, that has to be with somebody all the time, right? And it took, in unpacking all of my baggage, it took a long time by myself. Like I had to spend time by myself to really figure out what I wanted in a spouse, what I even wanted for myself, let alone what I wanted in that person that I swiped right or swiped left for, right? So I love that.
And also we forget, Heather, what do we bring to the table? What are we clear on what we're offering? What can we bring?
Yeah. And I love that. I think that comes from a place of abundance versus the scarcity. I always tell people, when I was dating, because I found my husband online, actually, speaking of swiping right, swiping left, although we didn't have that back then. It was just match.com. But I was looking for somebody, and I put it in my profile, I was looking for somebody to share my life, not be my life, because I was whole all by myself. I didn't need anyone to complete me, right? I thank you very much. But
Absolutely.
that took me spending time by myself. So I love that you focus on that and what's going on with you before you go out to attract somebody else. And I love that you also talked about having an open mind about that. There's lots of things in the world. I don't know exactly how a car works, but I trust that it does. So I get it and I use it, right? So I love that you tell people to keep an open mind, even if that's not something that they've used in their life, or not something that they necessarily subscribe to, just to keep an open mind. That falls in the category of might help, couldn't hurt, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I love this. So what's your you sound like you're so passionate anyways, but what's your passion project? Like, what have you got cooking on in your business right now that's really getting you excited?
I'm really passionate about reaching out to women that are ready to understand themselves, ready for personal development. And right now, what I've got on the boil is a free 5-day challenge, so that if you don't know me, you can work with me for 5 days and it costs you nothing. And I start the Fearlessly Moving Forwards process in the 5-day challenge, so that you can taste and get the essence of how I work. And I think at the end of the day, you're either going to love it or not. And that's the same with anything. You know, it's, if you went into a restaurant and you tasted their dish of the day, it's either going to be your thing or it isn't. And that's okay. So I'm really happy to work with people in the 5-day challenge, and those people that unfortunately who can't invest right now, that's okay, because I've got a free Facebook group, and in that free Facebook group I serve you every single day. But with the maybe 5% that are able and are ready to take that action and invest, I work with them for 90 days, and they go inside the membership area and we do questions and answers once a week. So fully supported, fully accountable, because I've learned that unless that happens, it's very easy to shift off course.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I love the idea that even if they don't have, for whatever reason, they don't have the funds or the time or whatever it is to invest right now, you've at least given them a glimpse that there's a possibility, and you've at least set them up and piqued their interest that you deserve better, right?
Yeah, I'm such a big advocate for women to not settle. Somebody said to me the other day that they're actually separating, and her friend said to her, "Why? None of us are happy." And it's like, whoa, don't you deserve to be happy? Don't you deserve not to settle? Don't you realize that you can't play the blame game, that it all starts with self?
Yeah. There's a whole story in that woman to unpack with her comment that why none of us are happy. What? Yes, that's a possibility. I'm terribly happy in my life. And isn't that sad that that's the status for a lot of people, is they just settle into, oh well, this is just what it is and this is what I have to settle for, which, you know, brings us back to relationships a lot of times, especially as we get older, right? I didn't find my husband until I was 35, but if I was going to spend the rest of my life alone, I was perfectly okay with that. He was the frosting on top of the cake, right? So,
and that's how it should be. I love it, Heather. I love it. It should be. We should meet someone who enhances our life. It's not about being completed. It's about enhancing, not needing anything from each other than love and enhancing and encouraging and supporting and all that beautiful stuff. I love that you call it the icing. Beautiful.
yeah, well, that's what I grew up with. My mom always told me, you're the cake. Like from the time I can remember when I was a young girl, you're the cake. And my parents are still married, so it's not like she was, you know, jaded or bitter or anything. She told me, you're the cake, and cake by itself is amazing. But if you find the frosting, that's great. But if you never find the frosting,
I love that.
yeah.
I love that. And that really, really gets the message across that we're already that yummy cake. And how dare anyone not put their icing on our yummy cake? How dare they?
Well, and I love that you talk about the fact that you have to, it's not, you know, it talks about, you talk about personal responsibility, because that's really starts, right? And
Yeah, it is. It's not playing the blame game. It's, you know, he said, he did, he made me feel this way. Actually, you choose how you feel. You choose it. And whatever's happening is a mirror. So what is that reflecting back at you? Have you not got boundaries? Have you got low self-esteem? Is your self-worth low? You know, I do work with couples, and I'm really happy if both of them want to work on improving and moving on with a great foundation. Because if a couple can work on it, you don't need to go out and learn the same lesson again. I'm a really big person. If it can work, then brilliant. But if, you know, it's physical abuse, then certainly not. If it's somebody that's a narcissist or got anger issues, certainly not, until they work on their stuff.
Yeah, but I'm really glad that you brought up that point, because I talk to a lot of women and they say, you know, I say, have you thought about counseling? Well, he won't go. And I'll say, but you can go, right?
Yes.
If he doesn't go, you work on you.
Yes.
Yeah. And I love that you talk about when people are, you know, the personal responsibility part, because I even wrote this on a Facebook post the other day. Are you tired of people taking? Well, you have to look at how much you're giving, right?
It's all about balance.
Yeah.
Everything's about balance. It's give and take in life. And I find that in the work that I do, we discover past lives as a religious figure. And in that religious life, unknowingly to you, because you don't remember, you've taken a vow. And one of those vows can be subservience. So you're kowtowing, and then the resentment builds. Now, the truth is, we have an aura, we have many, many layers of the aura, and eventually the mental layer and the emotional layer come through to the physical, and resentment and hatred can create cancer. So, do we want that? No.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. This is so much to unpack. This is lovely. And I really love the idea of going into this idea of what's happened to us in our past lives and kind of unpacking that as well, because I'm a big believer in that your cells carry history, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. We are an energy. So we live many, many experiences because it's an experiential learning curve as an individual in each lifetime. And it's very powerful, that past energies may have come through and are causing a problem in the current life. And once we kind of clear that, and it's picked up and it's put into what we call a dead file, everything shifts.
I love it. And I love that you have a program that works within 90 days, or that's, because you're
Well, listen, Heather, I'm going to be honest, and I'm a really down to earth Capricorn. And I might be a bit woo woo, but I'm very down to earth, and I keep it real and I say it as it is. If you've been with somebody like I was for 34 years, you're certainly going to feel better in 90 days, but you have access to the course for a year. And during that year, you can re-watch videos, you can re-listen to the meditation podcasts, you can go over things, and you will grow and gain a huge understanding about yourself, raising your vibe, because we can spiral down to doom and gloom, or we can spiral up to happiness and joy. And the reality of life is we don't stay at the top of the spiral, but we hover in the middle, and sometimes we go a bit low, things happen, that's life. Sometimes we go a little bit up, and that is normal. And it's getting that understanding that makes the difference. And maybe it would take longer the more that you were enmeshed with that individual.
Right.
If you've got no kids and you can just move on and break away, that's a clean break. But if you are both parents together and there's still contact, we support you with that. I'm best friends with my ex.
What a lovely position to be in. Yeah, and it does take time. So I hope I didn't convey to anybody that oh, ding, you're fixed in 90 days. You're all done. Woo, you're fresh and shiny at that point.
I know. I'm gonna be real. It's a process that can take you 90 days. And if you've got a busy life, you're running your own business, or you're the director of a company and you haven't got the time, you can take as long as you like. But you've got me once a week for 90 days. And I'm not going to make you do anything that you don't have the time to do or that you don't wish to do. So it's a process, and you can take it quick, you can take it slower, but it's down to you.
Yeah, that goes back to that personal responsibility piece, right?
Yeah,
and I love that you talk about at least 90 days, because we've become this microwave society. I think a lot of it has to do with social media, where we see these promises of, lose 60 pounds in 60 days or get 6 figures in 6 months, and we expect it like this. And when it doesn't happen like this, we say, well, forget it, I'm quitting, right? It must
we'll say, it was a load of rubbish, it didn't work. Well, it's not me.
Yes.
It's not me that can wave the magic wand, and that's why I will only work with action takers. Yeah. So it's like being a parent and your child's got an exam. You can't go and sit the exam for them. You can support them, you can be there and encourage, you can answer questions and help them, but you can't do the exam. And it's the same thing with online courses.
Yes. And I love that you said that, because I hear people say, well, that course didn't work for me. And I say, that's exactly right. The course doesn't work for you. You work for the course. You have to put in the work, right, in order to get something out of it.
Yes. Yeah, that's why I call it an investment. It's an investment. And when somebody's made a larger investment than something a lot more affordable, it's more of a push to think, well, I've invested quite a lot in that. I'm going to see it through to completion. And that's why my course is priced at £3,500. But what I've done in the 5-day challenge is, if you book at the end of the 5-day challenge, it's a special price of £500 off of that. So you can have that saving. But I'm absolutely translucent with what I offer, what can be expected, and what the cost is, because my time is important. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want you to waste mine.
Exactly. I love it. I love it. And I love that you say, I work with action takers.
Yeah, and I love them. I love them. I think they're amazing, and they come with all different scenarios and all different situations that have happened to them. And I always think, oh, it's going to be this age group, and then I end up working with a 30-something who actually wasn't married but was with somebody a long time and got separated and had to deal with all her stuff that came up. And then I'll deal with somebody in their 50s. So it varies, but yeah, I love them because they're taking that action.
Yes, I love that. And speaking of taking action, you have offered such a generous gift to people that they can get into your program for 5 days and do that challenge.
Absolutely. To me, Heather, in the UK, and I don't know how much it costs in the US, an average cost of a divorce is just under £15,000. So if you can invest in something for 3,000 and meet your soulmate and everything crossed, you've raised your vibe, you've got a whole different way of being in a relationship, it's highly unlikely you're going to repeat the old pattern again. Well, that's got to be worth something.
Well, and not only that, but the cost of divorce is far more than financial. It's all of that lost
The
time.
pain,
Yeah.
the health, the mental health, the well-being, all of the other costs involved. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's just easier to write a check and make stuff go away, but you can't make the pain go away out of divorce,
No.
right? Or all the
No.
turmoil, or like you said, if you've got children involved, that's
Yeah.
a whole nother level. So I would love
Yeah.
to know how people can get a hold of you, because you mentioned the 5-day challenge, you mentioned the Facebook group that people could pop into. So how do people find you?
I am on LinkedIn and I have a website.
Okay.
It's www.therootmaster.com. And my nickname is the Rootmaster because I get to the core root of why that has happened, that situation or that predicament or that relationship or whatever it is. We'll look at the core root and we will pick up that root and we'll put it in the incinerator, so you don't have to repeat that continual pattern.
And I love that you talk about the root, because if you don't pull a plant out by the root, it just keeps coming back up, right?
It's like a weed, or it's like ivy that grows everywhere. Or I don't know if any of you have got ponds and you get this pond weed and it just keeps growing. If you imagine that we each in our mind have a garden, and it's good that it's orderly and it's weeded and it's watered with positivity and hope and all of that kind of stuff. We need to tend our garden.
Yeah, exactly. So I would love for people to start that process with you. So you are at therootofmaster.com.
therootmaster.com. Yes.
Okay.
And what I'll do, Heather, is I will send you the link particularly for the 5-day challenge, which you can share when this goes out.
Exactly. It has been such a delight talking to you today, Heather. Is there anything else you'd like to add, or something that we didn't cover that you'd like to let our audience know about? Or
I don't think so, apart from saying to everyone watching this that I don't judge anyone. So whether you've been a sex worker, whether you've had affairs within your marriage, whatever you share with me is private and confidential, and I do not judge you. It's all been part of your life experience.
I love that. It's a safe, judgment-free zone.
Yeah. Yeah. We're all energy. We're all here to learn, and there is no judgment.
I love that. I love that. Heather, thank you so much for being with us today. I will put the links for everything down below this video once it gets posted. And I encourage people to reach out to you guys, because you are just such a delight and you make people feel at ease very, very quickly. So I imagine working with you would just be a place where you could settle in and just get to work. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Heather, to be invited on your fabulous show. So thank you.
Great. And I encourage everyone to reach out to Heather and then join us again here next Tuesday at high noon. And we will have another installment of Bold Breakthroughs. Bye.
Bye-bye.